Well, hello, everybody. It's good to be back on A World Awakening. I'm standing in for Andrea this evening, and I'm very happy to have back with me Laura Walker. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Well, last week we were on the show and we talked about life after death.
Yeah.
And it was a 2-hour special, and we had a lot of very positive comments and feedback following on from that show. But there was a lot that we wanted to talk about that we didn't have time to talk about. And so we've come back again this week to talk about something that is very closely related but slightly different, and that is life before life. Where do we come from? What happened to get us to where we are here today? Now, we could spend a month on this subject, but we're going to try and squeeze it into just an hour. I would like to start off by thanking the people who are watching this show. I see Jonathan is there already, and Diana, and Andrea is in the comment section also. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here. Now, Laura, before we get into life before life, you're part of my remote viewing team. You connect with my group of remote viewers a lot, and we astrally project to different beings that are out there in the universe. And this last week, on Tuesday, we remote viewed to some tall white beings that we have a friendship with outside of Las Vegas. I'm sorry, I'm being distracted because I've got the comments out and Brendan's here. Thank
I'm seeing
you.
that too. Hi,
Yeah,
Brendan.
everybody's here. All our friends are here.
Jonathan.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. We remote viewed to the tall whites, and we also, on Thursday, remote viewed the Galactic Council. Would you like to give us a summary of your experiences and maybe the group's experiences on Tuesday when we remote viewed? We astrally projected to tall whites and we connected with them.
Yes, absolutely. The group got together. It was a small group. We got together, and of course, we didn't talk to one another. We don't get an opportunity to really speak. We horn in, we listen to what Rupert's going to do, and then we just start into the meditation. And this was different because we were actually going to the desert in Nevada, I believe. Nevada, correct?
Yes.
And so it was different for me because I've never been in a place like that before. And as we were doing this, I could sense everyone around me. This is my experience. I could just sense everyone around me, and their energy was very high because I believe we were very excited to try to meet and greet these beautiful beings. And when we got through the process of astro projecting, I could sense immediately they were there. But I was seeing this like orb light come in, and it was on the outside of it, plasma, as you would call it, moving around it. Mm-hmm. And I now understand that was one of that is another form, or how they come. They don't always appear the way I saw it that evening. To make a long story short with what we did, I perceived 4 tall whites that approached us. And one in particular was so willing to communicate, wanting to initiate further communication by actually showing his feature. And so you asked a series of questions. We did not know anything about these questions, and you had us do what is called
automatic writing.
Thank you for helping me. Automatic writing. And this is like the 3rd or 4th time I've ever done it, and this was intense for me this time. as I'm writing, you ask a question, a name, what would it look like, so forth. And as I'm writing, you talked about the mountains, that they seem to be in the mountains where they reside. What does their area look like where they live? Is there a ship there? And I kept drawing, like scribble. My hand was just doing like this. My hand was just constantly going. And I found too that I can open up my eyes, look at my paper, do what I got to do. And I'm still in that state. I have no problem keeping that state, that meditated state. And I would open up my eyes and see, like, I would make these triangles on top of a triangle thing. I was doing that constantly, but I kept doing that with the paper. Slide the paper away from me. The papers were going all in the floor away from me. And I just kept doing it. And then I heard in my mind, pick up that phone. And I grabbed my phone and I use my Note 10 Plus phone. The notes files is what I use to do a lot of my artwork. I find it very simple and it's easy for me to do. And immediately my favorite screen popped up. And this was the fastest. I've never drawn anything this quickly. And I'm intensely drawing this. And what came out the most prominent for me, intense-wise, was the hair and the eyes. Now, afterwards, he was like, hurry, hurry, hurry. That's what I kept hearing. Hurry, hurry, hurry. You need to hurry. And I immediately submitted it to you. And I've never done that before either. I apologize, but I immediately submitted it to you. And when you showed the picture, others saw that guy.
Yeah.
Others saw that guy. And his eyes look human. His hair is just as white. And I didn't get the skin. So the picture does not show the skin because, again, I was limited with time. So I'm kind of like try to be perfection with that. I said last week that when I do drawings, I'm told right off the bat, hey, you're not. Nope. You will not submit. Nope. That's not what I look like. I don't like it. I'll have to ask, help me do it. And they actually, the beings, whomever is around who I'm working with, helps me do the drawing. But the skin of this being is egg white, like with gray. It's just that light or white with kind of a gray color. But it was amazing. I mean, all the same thing, It was amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on the back of what you said and maybe clarify one or two things to people. When Laura says we don't talk to each other, that sounds very unsociable.
Oh, okay.
When we get into our Zoom meeting, it's very fun. It's very sociable. We always chat among the group and get to know what's going on in everybody's lives. It's a very sort of friendly group. But then when we start doing the astral projection, then there's no verbal communication. And that's important because when you're astrally projecting somewhere in a group and remote viewing what's there and you're not discussing it and everybody's having different perceptions, then after we finish, and again, we start talking to each other to share what it was that we experienced, then if people experience the same thing, then that's a very strong verification. And if a few people experience the same thing, then that's proof that what people were perceiving was a genuine perception, was a genuine psychic perception, that they were actually there perceiving that thing. And that's what happened on Tuesday. People were perceiving the same tall white beings, human-like features with long white hair, human eyes, and eggshell white skin.
Yes.
So it was very cool.
Yes.
And then on Thursday, we astrally projected and remote viewed to the Galactic Council. And again, some people were seeing a being. A few people saw a being that we weren't expecting to see. Would you like to explain that being?
Yes. Oh my goodness. A dragon. a dragon. I'm not kidding. This is real. It's real. This dragon, amongst so much happened during this meeting, during this encounter, was upright, standing up on two legs, like human-like looking kind of body, but the entire head was dragon. I can't explain it any other way. That is the immediate impression that I received. And others described the same being that they saw. And I had asked a question, but nobody had made the statement of how were they positioned? What were they doing? So that's when I was curious, and I asked, I said, how did they look to you? Were they on all fours? Was it standing up? And they all concluded standing upright. It was amazing just to see this. It blows me away. It's wrapping my head around it. I quit trying to do that. I just let it happen. Just relax. That's exactly how I have to do it.
And we are slowly building up a stronger and stronger picture of who the Galactic Council are, their environment, and we have a seat on their council. We go there and we communicate with them, and we're starting to work with them. And we haven't got very far with that yet, but that's what we're doing. I had some shared perceptions with you in both of the experiences in both of the meetings that we had this last week. On Tuesday, you've already described, you were drawing triangle after triangle after triangle on top of each other. And at the end of the session, I held up my piece of paper, and that's what I had.
Yes.
And then when we were in the Galactic Council's inner chamber, and I was sitting at the table, I could see, and I kept being distracted by, orbs floating around above the table. Spiritual like orbs floating above the table. And I'd not seen that before. So I invited people to take a look at the table, on the table, above the table, around the table, to see what people were seeing. And you saw an orb above the table.
Sure did. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So that sort of thing is very cool because it's verification.
Yes. You asked, look at the table, see if you see anything on the table. And what I saw on the table was a triangular like device like that, but it was floating, and it was kind of clear on the outside of it. It was metallic, like liquidy metal on the bottom base of it. Liquidy, like you could see the metal moving. That's the only way I can describe it. In the center of it was a purple orb, and it was moving around. And then I drew another device. It looked like a wandish, looked like an instrument. And those two were connected, those two. But I also heard two words, instruction and information. That was a part of that device on that table. But it was incredible. I mean, it had like a purplish, and it was just moving around inside this thing. And then when you said, I saw orbs, I was like, what? Oh, wow. What a connection. It's awesome.
Yes.
I get excited. I can't help myself. I am a child in a candy shop,
They're fun, these meetings.
Yes.
If anybody wants to join any of our meetings, then where do people have to go, Laura?
Oh, you've got to go to Galactic Wisdom. Join the meetings there. There's galacticwisdom.com. Is that how you pronounce it? Is it?
It's patreon.com.
Patreon, I'm sorry.
Galactic Wisdom.
On Patreon group. You will not be disappointed. You will be very well educated, and you will have fun. You will. Trust me.
Thank you, Laura. Now, today, I would like to look at the subject of life before life. And I've got a bit of a lecture here. Awesome. So I'm going to do a lot of talking. And
got your shaker?
I've got my shaker, but
I got mine.
this is what we do when people go on talk for too long. We shake at them to give them a subtle clue that maybe they should wrap it up pretty quickly. If I'm talking for too long, Laura, you go ahead and shake at me, okay? So first of all, let me say that I'm coming at the subject of life before life from the perspective of a space scientist. I am a space scientist. I'm also a paranormal researcher. I'm also a spiritual advisor. I've been researching all aspects of reality, both scientific and extra normal or paranormal, my entire life. So I come at things from a logical perspective rather than a belief-based perspective. And as I said, last time we looked at life after death. Now, if anybody's interested in recapping on life after death or looking at the life after death recording, you can either join KGRA and look at the files there, or you can go to A World Awakening, watch the YouTube video of the A World Awakening show from last week. Today we're going to look at life before life. Now, in a similar way that last week's show was controversial, in that we are talking about things that people have very strong and differing opinions about, the same is true today. So I would like to, in advance, let people know that my intention here is not to offend people. I apologize if I am causing offense or upsetting people. That's certainly not my intention. I do try to be, and I will try to be, respectful of everybody's different beliefs. But at the same time, the truth is important. You know, people used to believe, like the whole planet of people used to believe, that the Earth was the center of the universe and that the sun rotated around the Earth. And if you said anything contrary to that, you could be killed, declared a heretic, and killed in very nasty ways. And those people back then, we're the same species as them. We have the same faults and flaws and abilities to be drawn into accepting things as being true without logical proof. And so I'm going to ask everybody to open up yourselves to the possibilities that maybe some of the things that I'm saying might actually have some validity, even if they're different from anybody's beliefs. So life after death, I'm just going to do a quick recap of where we got to, because some of the things that we discussed then last week might help us to understand things that I'm talking about this week. First of all, last week we did conclude that yes, there is life after death. There is a lot of very strong evidence for life after death, and I'm not going to go through it all again today, but so much evidence that it constitutes proof that when we die, when our biological bodies die, then our consciousnesses do continue. The interdimensional forces that connect our spiritual bodies to our biological bodies weaken to the extent that our spirits are freed to move fully out into extra-dimensional spaces. And our consciousnesses can remain conscious because they remain housed in the complex structures of our spiritual brains. A consciousness can't just reside magically in no structure, in nothingness, any more than your computer can operate without a physical computer being there. It's not magic. We need the hard drive and the computer chips and the wires to take everything around. And when we die, our spirits are then greeted by deceased family members and friends in the spirit realm and taken to areas of the spirit realm where they reside. Last week, we looked at what a spirit's made out of. And just quickly recapping, well, in three-dimensional space, there's matter. Everything around me is made out of matter, including this pen I'm holding and my hair and everything else that you see around me and everything in your room. There is, of course, energy also, and energy and matter have an equivalence, E equals mc squared. We're used to the idea of matter being around us. What a lot of us are not used to the idea of is that in extra dimensional space, there is also a substance. And that substance is called charetha. And it is this charetha that our spirits are made out of. And there is a interdimensional force that holds our spiritual bodies to our biological bodies, which is why we generally stay together through the courses of our lives. It's also how healing works. We can explain a lot of things when we start talking about charetha and the spiritual energy that it holds. And you've seen charetha, haven't you?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's pink and like purple. It's cloud-like, but it's thicker than a cloud. But yet you can, when we do our remote viewing, you can go right through it, just like right through it. And it moves with you when you go through it. It's amazing. I really hope that everyone has an opportunity to see something like that. Try, do through their meditation. They would look at it and go, wow, literally.
Yeah. So meditate, astrally project, and remote view. And everybody here can see spiritual stuff. Now, I did ask last week the question, where do spirits come from? And I answered it last week. And I'm going to talk about it again now because it helps to do this as a quick recap also before we talk about life before life. And one very important observation that helps us to determine where spirits come from is that spirits almost always match the biological bodies that they came from. So when we see the spirits of dogs, for example, they look like dogs. And I've had my dog Gemma visit me many times in the night, and I see her and connect with her. But she looks like a dog. She doesn't look like a human person spirit that was once reincarnated into that dog biological body. No, she's a dog. She was a dog spirit. She is a dog spirit. When we see the spirits of babies, they look like babies. They don't look like the adult spirits of people, humans who were once reincarnated into the babies. They look like spirit babies. Physical imperfections that existed when a person was alive are very often seen and felt when mediums and psychics and even regular people see the spirits or the ghosts of those people. This evidence strongly suggests, along with a lot of other evidence that I talked about last week, it suggests that spirits grow with the biological bodies. As the biological bodies grow, the spiritual bodies grow. As the molecules come together and clump into each other, and the DNA forms and the organelles form and the cells and tissues grow, so too does the spiritual matter, the charetha around them, thus building up an nearly identical copy of our biological bodies, but spiritual. And that copying process happens also with the brain and the structure of the brain. And that is how, when our biological bodies die, our consciousnesses can continue, because that complex structure of the spiritual brain remains, housing all of our memories, our character, our abilities, our skills, our emotions, our hopes and our desires. So that's a little sort of summary of where spirits came from, where our spirits come from, where most spirits come from. I'm going to say almost all spirits. Do you have anything to add or comment upon in anything I've said there, Laura?
Actually, more that you've talked about where we come from, I have to say the way you explain it in the layman's terms helps me better understand If you were using much larger scientific terminology, I would be like totally lost. So I just want to say thank you, because I'm positive that the audience too are understanding better where you're coming from, and this is important. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that positive feedback. So basically, what we can learn from the evidence that I've so far outlined is that our spirits grow with our biological bodies, that the spirits of naturally occurring humans, animals, and aliens, all life throughout the universe, didn't exist before their biological bodies developed. Now, I know I'm starting to move into territory in which some people's beliefs are going to be inconsistent with that. And again, I apologize if I'm offending people. Let's all, even though we have different beliefs, though, I think it's important to be able to live in peace with each other and be respectful of each other. I think the conclusion that I've just made, the conclusions I've just made, are reasonable conclusions that fit all of the evidence. I would go maybe a little bit further and say that they're logical conclusions based on all of the evidence that has been available to me. Now, this evidence-based conclusion doesn't rule out the possibility that some spirits were created somehow in other ways. It doesn't rule out that possibility. I've just never encountered any evidence to suggest that that might be true. But I'm always open to receiving evidence, not beliefs. You can believe anything, and there's no way of proving any beliefs because they're faith-based. But if anybody has any evidence to suggest that spirits can be created in other ways, then I would be very open to that. Now, of course, there are many belief systems in which all of the spirits in the universe, or sometimes with some people's beliefs, just human spirits, were all created in other ways than I've just described. But as I said, I haven't encountered any evidence for that being true. These evidence-based conclusions that I'm making, they also don't rule out the possibility, they don't rule it out, that a small proportion of spirits are somehow recycled into new biological bodies. And that is now something we're going to look at. Because I'm not here today to tell people reincarnation isn't true, because most people that have studied the subject of reincarnation know that, well, something is happening. Something is happening. But let's look specifically at what is it that's happening and what specifically can we conclude from it. There's a huge amount of evidence for what people interpret as being reincarnation. What is the evidence for reincarnation? A small proportion of humans on this planet, and I'm going to say a small proportion because most people don't have memories of past lives. A small proportion of humans on this planet have what seems like them to be a small number of, I'm going to describe as lifelong memories. These are memories that they've had their whole lives. They didn't just suddenly remember them yesterday. Of people, memories of people who used to be alive but are now dead. Now, I've watched enough documentaries on this subject to have been convinced that some of these memories are real memories of real people who were alive but then passed away. I would say there is proof that some of these memories that some people have, including very probably people who are watching this show, there is proof that some people have memories of past events within other, I'm going to say other lives. I don't want to make that deduction of past lives, even though they might be in the past. There's also a number of people who go to regressional hypnotherapists, and they start tuning into, often, what seems to be, to them, to be a small number of, I'm going to describe them as newly acquired memories of people who used to be alive but are now dead. These are memories that they didn't have through their childhood and young adulthood, maybe. Then they go to a regressional hypnotherapist, very often looking for possible past lives, and that is what they find very often. That's the evidence. The question is, how do we interpret that evidence in a honest way? Laura, have you ever had any perceptions of memories or emotions that you think are the memories or emotions of other people?
No, but I'm drawn to Scotland and Ireland a lot. I mean, every time I watch a movie that has anything to do with Scotland, I just am so drawn, or even Ireland. But any memory, no, I don't. Mm-mm.
There's a test to be able to determine whether or not it's likely that you were reincarnated from Scotland or Ireland, and that is how good is your Scottish or Irish accent.
Well, let me see. My Scottish accent's not my Irish accent, but I can tell you that my Irish accent is very good.
Okay, I'm gonna let people judge that in the comments section. I am going to not make any comments on that myself because I'm biased coming from the UK.
I love it.
Oh my goodness. And I'm going red for some reason. I do that for no apparent reason sometimes. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, thank you. No, I'm going to deduce, Laura, that you are not reincarnated from those countries. I hope you're not offended.
I am not. I'm not.
Okay. Not that I know that to be true. So how do we interpret this evidence? Well, I'm going to start by asking another question. How many people have been reincarnated? The fact that only a tiny fraction of the population have a small number of memories of people who used to be alive can be taken as evidence, not proof, but evidence that a tiny fraction of the population have been reincarnated. Sorry, I'm being distracted by the comments again here. I know that Andrea has a strong tie with Scotland. I can't recall if she feels like she is from Scotland, but I know she has a strong tie there. And other people are here chipping in with their comments. Candice, thank you very much for being here. Brady, thank you very much for being here. Diana. So only a tiny fraction of the population have a small number of memories, This seems to indicate, if we're honest with ourselves, that a small proportion of the population may have been reincarnated. However, the fact that most of the population do not have any memories of previous lives can be taken as evidence that most of the population has not been reincarnated. Now, you can have beliefs that are contradicting that, but that's what the evidence clearly suggests. I don't remember ever going to Australia. The reason that I don't remember ever going to Australia is that I've never been to Australia. I have been to Scotland. I remember going to Scotland. But if people don't remember having any previous lives, the most rational and honest explanation, interpretation, is that they don't have any. They didn't have any previous lives. And as I said, we can make up stories and theories and beliefs to explain how and why people forget their past lives. But these stories, theories, and beliefs are not evidence-based. It's a theory that is there that can support another theory. It's a belief that can support another belief, but it's not based in evidence. I'm just going where the evidence is taking me. And some of my interpretation, some of the evidence and some of the conclusions I'm going to draw might end up being interesting for people as possible alternatives to reincarnation. So how is it possible that some people on this planet have actual memories of people who used to be alive? Well, I can see several different real possibilities. I can see several different real probabilities that fit into my evidence-based knowledge of the paranormal. Here's one: astral projection. Our spirits or consciousnesses can travel to other times and places. We can travel back in time to when other human beings were alive. And we can connect with those people, those consciousnesses, and we can remote view, which is something that human beings have the ability to do through meditation, and sometimes without meditation, but mostly through meditation. We can astrally project back to the past, to other people, other times, other places, other people. We can see things, we can hear things, we can feel temperatures, we can feel textures. We can tune into the thoughts, emotions, knowledge, and memories of others. Laura, would you say it's been proved to you that astral projection and remote viewing are real phenomena?
It is absolutely real for me. We astral projected one time. You had a photograph. We were doing a photograph. Now, listen, guys, this is crazy. This may sound crazy.
And you didn't know what the photograph was?
Had no idea. You would not show us what that photograph was. So you're focusing on the photograph, and then you had us do the remote view. We're astral projecting, we draw. And I kept feeling like majestic and awe is what I would feel. And then I would feel concrete, and it was white, and I could feel the roughness of the concrete. And what in the world did you ended up showing with this particular picture was inside a very beautiful building, I believe in London. And also I had stairs. I drew stairs, and these two stairs were circular going up, and the entire scene was majestic, and it was concrete, literally white concrete. I mean, another time you did one.
That was Buckingham Palace, that one.
That was Buckingham Palace.
And
wow.
What you just described is exactly what's in Buckingham Palace in the photo that I had.
Never been. Well, guess what, guys? I've been to the Buckingham
You Palace. Have been to Buckingham Palace.
I sure have. And another picture you didn't show us. You just focused on the picture, and we did the remote viewing. And I ended up drawing what looked like two mounds kind of over like this, but they were gathered. It felt like it was gathering close, very warm, but there was a ship I see in the background. And then there was other little mounds in the background like this, and big, like a big square, very cold. I kept feeling abruptly cold. And then by the time it was completed, the picture was completed, it was it looked identical to the photograph you showed of a photographer who took a picture of a bunch of penguins in Antarctica. There was a ship in the background and a humongous square iceberg in the corner right there. So yes, sir, it's real.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. Absolutely. And this is something, you know, I remember doing my first remote viewing when I was just a teenager. I just tried it and it worked. This is something that humans have the ability to do. There is also an ability called telepathy, where it's basically a special type of remote viewing in which you're not just seeing what's there or connecting in the ways that we've just described. We can experience the thoughts, feelings, knowledge, or memories of other people.
That I agree with, definitely agree with. Sometimes, Rupert, when we do astral projecting, I'm feeling other people's emotions. And I actually, yes, and sometimes I have to take a deep breath and remove myself from that, because some of the emotions are fear, a little bit of fear. Sometimes I'll feel, or a little bit of sadness, you know, and I don't want to feel those things. So I'm having to learn how to cut that off when we're actually doing it. And that's in the group. Not saying anything negative. No. Please don't get me wrong. Anyone, please don't get me wrong. but I can feel people. They're unsure, and I can feel that.
Yeah. Awesome. Candice is telling us that she did that remote viewing, it looks like, and she was freezing for 2 days after that remote viewing of penguins. That's funny. So imagine this situation. Babies, children, or adults unintentionally, when they're asleep, astrally projecting and finding themselves in places in the past where there are people, and accessing the memories, the emotions, the lives of those people. This is a realistic, a reasonable, possible alternative to the notion of straight reincarnation. Why people have other lives, memories. People can also acquire the memories of people by being hypnotized. Being hypnotized is extremely similar to meditating. It's a deep meditation. And then when in the hypnotherapy, regressional hypnotherapy session, the hypnotherapist says, now go back in time to before you were born. This is a guided remote viewing. This is a guided astral projection and remote viewing. And it's not surprising that people find themselves picking up on the memories of people who used to be alive. Again, another reasonable explanation for how people can acquire these newly acquired other life memories.
Rupert, have you been hypnotized? Have you ever experienced that?
No, I have not.
You haven't? I have.
Mm.
I have been hypnotized. In the meeting, hypnosis, it was to see if I could be hypnotized, if I was that candidate for it. I held my hand up this high for 20 minutes. For 20 minutes. And I have it recorded. And I never felt the tingling or not. I felt like when he directed me, said that the arm of the chair is rising, and slowly the whole time as he's talking, let it rise until it reaches its top. And I went all the way and held it for 20 minutes. And then he brought my hand back down. And then at the end, he goes, do you realize you held your, I says, I knew it was up. I knew it was up, but I didn't really connect the fact that it was. But yeah, I've experienced hypnosis.
That is very cool. Now we have 9 minutes left, so I'm going to get a little bit of a move on here, and I haven't had Bill sending us a message saying 5 minutes. I'm just going to try and speed up a little bit myself. There is another mechanism by which people can acquire other life memories: proximity-induced transfer of memories. Imagine as a baby or a toddler, you're lying there in your bed and you have a deceased grandmother who comes in and watches over you and takes care of you. And she hugs you and rocks you to sleep in the night, at night. Or another person from the past who likes to take care of children. For whatever reason, maybe there are protector spirits out there that come and take care of children. And that proximity, when you get close to a being, if anybody's ever experienced sleep paralysis, you know what it's like when you get sleep paralysis and you can start to pick up on the thoughts, the feelings, the intentions of other beings around you. That's another mechanism by which you can then grow up and recall the memories of others. And if you take that to its extreme, possession. You can imagine, in the same way that sometimes adults may be possessed, that more vulnerable beings such as children or babies also get spirits coming in and possessing those children. And that can be done for a variety of different reasons. It can be it can be done with positive intentions by ancestors or people within a certain cultural or religious group who are deliberately trying to pass on ancestral memories or cultural ideals into a newly developing child. It can also be for ulterior motives by spirits that are coming in and simply wanting to experience the physical world again. You can also get surgical reincarnation. I class this as a type of reincarnation. It is where spirits, hopefully consensually, can opt to have their own spiritual brains cut apart, taken apart, bits of their memories, bits of their characters implanted, inserted into toddlers or children or babies when those babies are growing up. And in that way, it becomes a reincarnation of a small part of that spirit, such that biological matter may even grow around those spiritual memories or characteristics and form biological neurological memories of those past or other lives. And I see evidence for that happening. I see evidence for some of the cases of real reincarnation being connected in that, happening in that way. For example, when a young boy in India, he remembers being shot in the head as a man in a previous life, and when the boy's head was shaved, there was a scar in the place where the man was shot.
Wow.
That's evidence for there being a transfer of actually part of the spirit. And I have also seen evidence. There seems to be an unusually high proportion of people with past memories where the person that they remember died in a horrific way. Mm. And that seems to indicate the possibility that maybe some people who die, if their spirits are no longer viable, there can be some kind of a preservation of who that person or spirit was by putting some of their spirit into a child, maybe a sibling, maybe somebody in the local community, to try and recycle and preserve some aspects of who that person was. There is a final explanation for reincarnation, which I'm going to throw in here in the last minute and ask Laura for what you think about this. We also have evidence that some biological bodies can be engineered. Some biological bodies can be technologically engineered by alien beings to act as host bodies for existing spirits. And they are doing that certainly for themselves in some cases. And there's also evidence to suppose that they are doing it to deduce that they are also doing it for some people. For some people. There are some people alive whom they are deliberately making hybridized bodies for, to then go through into the next generation of beings. Any comments, Laura?
How about that one? Yeah, like the Lyran. He looked, that's part of alien hybridization. I'm not good with the wording, okay? So I apologize. Yeah, because this
you take a bit of lion, a bit of human.
Yeah, and put it together.
You mix them together. The DNA, you mix the DNA together and you get these Lyrans. And how many people was it that saw Lyrans in our last meeting?
Gosh, it was four or five, wasn't it?
It was significant.
Yeah, it was.
And they were standing in the same place, right?
Exact same place. Yes. 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 And the tall white, for example, looks human. It's not human. Not human. And you feel that. You know that. You feel it and you know that. But looks human. Put white hair on me right now. You know, make me into more male figure.
Absolutely, Laura. if we had more time, I would let you finish. I apologize, people, if that seems rude, but we kind of have a running joke that I'm allowed to do that. So I want to read out some words of advice that I've got that I put together as a deduction, as a how do we bring this conversation to a close? Words of advice. This, for most people, is your first and your only lifetime as a biological human. Make the most of it. Don't wait to learn. Learn now. Take good care of your biological body by eating healthily. Take good care of your spiritual body by taking care of your biological body, and by meditating, by rejecting any form of darkness within you. If you can be a better person, then be a better person now. Don't wait. Don't wait until your next reincarnation, because that's probably not going to happen. Establish loving relationships with all sentient life forms now. Now, I do know that we continue to live after we die. Our consciousnesses do continue. There is life after death. So it's not the end of everything. But there are experiences that you can have in the physical world that you're not going to have again. Very probably.
Exceptional advice. Beautiful advice.
I would like to thank you, Laura, so much for being here today with me. Your experiences, your humor, and your ability to talk when I run out of things to say is very much appreciated.
Oh, you're so welcome, Andrea. Thank you. And I send my love to you, your family, your dear sweet mother, my prayers and healing energy. And thank you, Rupert. I greatly appreciate the opportunities, and it's so educational, and I will continue to be there as much as I can. I appreciate everything.
Thank you very much, Laura. And if anybody wants to join us next week for our Tuesday astral projection to non-human entities, or to our Thursday projection to the Galactic Council, please consider joining our Patreon group, Galactic Wisdom. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here and for watching. Peace, love, and happiness to you all. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
Take care, everyone. Much love.